Hey everyone, I'm Tassinix, and welcome to a Plotting and Scheming Extra. We're doing the character kit review for Disguised Clone Trooper. Totally a Jedi, lurking about in his Jedi robes. I am joined by my regular co-host, Dagger, TJ, Sasha Aisha, and Fatal. Gentlemen, how's everybody doing? I know how Dagger's doing. Having the best of times.
I don't know how he's doing, but I'm ready for the final kit already. Let's just see the whole picture. Like we can live out of the suspense.
Mm-hmm. True.
There's nothing you can say that can hurt me. In fact, I'm not sure anything could hurt me right now.
Oh snap! Hey, by the way, what's your social? Let me know the last four of your DOB and your favorite dog. Nothing can hurt you.
Yeah.
I will test these waters.
Oh, man,
Daggers and
you're
the
trying to steal my
medicinal version of damage immunity. So
That's right. That's right. Let's
If
know
you're
about
trying to
let's know
steal
about
my
your favorite
identity,
hobbies.
if you're trying to steal my identity, it's just for practice. You ain't getting
That-
shit. You ain't getting blood from this stone. You want my debt? You can have my debt.
Well, no, I want to help with your debt. That's what I want to do. But we should talk about a kit.
It's true. It's true. Well, we are gathered here today to go over, Disguised Clone Trooper's kit. His alignment is Dark Side. Categories: Support, Clone Trooper, Empire. Key attributes: Ruse triggers additional effects in abilities, such as being able to stun the enemy and dispel their buffs when using his basic ability, or inflict debuffs on certain enemies with his special ability. His Territory War Omicron Clever Ruse makes it that Ruse no longer expires until the end of battle, and if enemy inflicted with Order 66 is defeated, Lord Vader and Darkside Clone Trooper allies take a bonus turn. That's monstrous. Disguised Clone Trooper has strong synergy with the other Darkside Clone Troopers under Galactic Legend Lord Vader. Yep. There. All right. Strategy tips. Prioritize your targets and aim for those that have Order 66, especially if they are Jedi or light side unaligned Force users. Take advantage of massive damage he deals when attacking. Be aware when facing teams that can remove stealth, since much of his survivability and effectiveness comes from when he is stealthed. Be patient and wait for the stacks of damage over time to build up before using his special ability, as he deals additional damage for each stack of damage over time. His unique 2 grants him stealth if there are Galactic Republic enemies, and if he doesn't have Ruse at the end of each of his turns, he gains stealth for 3 turns. Alright. Get down to first unique. Clever Ruse. With a Zeta and an Omicron. Final text. At the start of each of Disguised Clone Trooper's turns, if he was stealthed, he recovers 15% health and protection and gains 20% turn meter and Ruse until the end of that turn. When Disguised Clone Trooper attacks, he loses stealth. So whether it's his basic or his special, he'll drop stealth. At the start of each enemy's turn, if Disguised Clone Trooper had stealth, all other Darkside Clone Trooper allies gain retribution till the end of that enemy's turn. If that enemy was a Jedi, Disguised Clone Trooper gains tenacity up until the end of that enemy's turn, which can't be copied, dispelled, or prevented. Then, there's the Territory War Omicron. Ruse is defined as this effect triggers additional effects in abilities. Ruse is removed at the end of the turn. So it's just a flag, really what it is. All right, second unique. Decoy Squad 5 with a Zeta. Final text. At the start of encounter, Disguised Clone Trooper gains plus 30% offense, and if there was a Galactic Republic enemy, he gains stealth for 2 turns. At the end of each of his turns, if Disguised Clone Trooper didn't have Ruse, he gains stealth for 3 turns. With the Zeta, if the target enemy had Order 66, Disguised Clone Trooper deals massive damage when attacking. If the target enemy was Jedi or light side unaligned Force user, he deals an additional instance of massive damage per relic amplifier level. So, nice. So that means an instance of damage and then 1 per, so that's 10 times massive damage potentially from a Relic 9 character. The way I would read that. Which I guess, just off the top of your head, kind of makes you almost think about Lord Vader as an offensive team. but that would be if we were seeing a lot of light side or Ufu on defense. I guess Ahsoka counts like that. Something to keep in mind. All right, heading up to the basic. Covert Assault. Final text. Deal special damage to target enemy. If Disguised Clone Trooper had Ruse, stun them for 1 turn, which can't be evaded or resisted. If target enemy was already ability blocked or stunned, and all allies are Lord Vader, Grand Moff Tarkin, and or Darkside Clone Troopers, dispel all buffs on them and inflict Order 66 for 2 turns, which can't be copied, dispelled, evaded, or resisted. I love this really complex, basic sort of theme that they keep. Special 1, Well Executed Ambush, cooldown of 3, final text. Deal special damage to all enemies and deal 10% more damage for each stack of damage over time on them. 20% if Disguised Clone Trooper had Ruse. Stacking, maximum of 200%. So max 200% more damage. Okay. All Darkside Clone Trooper allies gain advantage for 2 turns. If the enemy was, and there's a few different conditions here, if they were light side, inflict them with healing immunity for 2 turns. If Disguised Clone Trooper had Ruse, healing immunity can't be dispelled or resisted, and inflict them with a stack of damage over time for 2 turns. If the target was Galactic Republic, reduce their speed by 15 for 2 turns. If Disguised Clone Trooper had Ruse, reduce their speed by another 15 and inflict them with a stack of damage over time for 2 turns. Then, if they were Jedi, inflict them with offense down for 2 turns. If Disguised Clone Trooper had Ruse, offense down can't be dispelled or resisted, and inflict them with a stack of damage over time for 2 turns. So yeah, if you're light side, Galactic Republic, and Jedi, so basically JMK especially, get host. All right, that's the whole kit.
Well,
We're all
more
the way back
specific-
around to the unique. So, as always, the first question is, guys, we can talk about the details of the play of the kit, but what do you think about initial thoughts on what modding this character might look like? Again, this is advance of Scorch, the tank. His kit has not yet been announced yet, so we don't have the full vision before us. But what are you guys thinking early on?
Without knowing
I don't know.
Scorch, it's hard
Oh,
to
yeah, Mark,
know. Without knowing Scorch, it's hard to know whether or not he's going to be protected. Like we're used to seeing Oppo and CX, who kind of have their own game plan.
Yeah.
He very much does not, and in fact, like I have some concerns about the TW Omicron right now because there's some counter synergy between the Omicron and his base kit, where it says you never lose Ruse, but if you never lose Ruse, he doesn't automatically stealth himself. Which means, like, all of a sudden, you have Oppo and Nightfall Trooper who are able to provide stealth, but that's a 4-turn cooldown, and we have 2 supports in the squad. So it's a 4-turn cooldown to roll, or to flip a coin, and hope that you got it on Disguised Clone Trooper. So yeah, we've seen this before, like they did this with Gungans, where like Jar Jar Binks had benefits for having blind on him, but then you took Boss Nass Omicron and the blind was just gone, so you just lost a bunch of functionality. CG's been they've done this before. That might be what they're doing here, where they're just kind of like, this character will be different in this other mode with this Omicron on. But yeah, to that point, this is kind of the first not self-sufficient Darkside clone that we've seen. So I kind of assume that we'll see some sort of protection clause from Scorch that like stealths the rest of the team or the other clones, because like I really want to highlight that the automatic buff clause per turn, where if he has stealth, like everyone gets retribution and he can possibly get tenacity up. The fact that it's per turn is actually sneakily a decent chunk of mastery gain, because LV lead gives you mastery for getting and dispelling buffs. I think we're very interested in having this dude be in stealth as often as possible, not to like diminish a Ruse at all, But if we're able to make stealth more consistently anyway, then we're able to ruse consistently. That maybe you don't worry about having it permanently.
Yeah.
Stealth counts as a buff, right?
I
What
don't
does?
know. I think it's going to be like Lord Vader's underestimated.
Hell, because the stealth counts as a buff, right?
Yes. Less it,
Yes.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Stealth counts as a buff, but Disguised Clone Trooper barely makes it for himself.
No, I know. I was just thinking off the top of my head when you're talking about the mastery gain. I was like,
Yeah,
I like that's the other thing. Like you were saying, like too, like if Scorch almost needs to say something like whenever he takes a turn, he stealths like all non-geo, like or stealths the supports. I don't know. This kid doesn't really excite me all that much because it's like you put this on defense and it's like cool. You weren't using JMK or the new Mace to beat this anyways, so
I agree. I don't. I
Eh?
feel like the value from it would be choosing, offensive matchups. Yeah.
and be clear, I'm not sure. Like Lord Vader 3-man's like almost everything in the game right now, so it's like, what is this guy functionally adding to the team besides being like likely just a squishy person who could cost you banners?
well,
I don't know. This guy doesn't really move the needle for me as far as like my excitement. Sorry.
to put it in context,
Say Faden?
we're in 3v3 right now, and Oppo and CX are kind of the prescribed, or at least the initial 3-pair that we see. It's entirely possible that like they'll do another 3-pair claws with Scorch or whatever, but yeah, so there's no real use case to run Disguised Clone Trooper in 3v3.
They've already called that out. They made it clear that the expectation is CX2 Oppo or with LV, and the other two are with Tarkin. And I think that's why they're doing the Tarkin call out and saying, when this is there, you get this setup.
Yeah.
I'm not fussed about it.
3v3 team.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same.
What it does,
I'm
going to make it simple. What it does is it gives you the ability to just go get your 5 or 6 star for when it comes out 7, and you're good to go. It's not attributing anything. Yes, the stuff is cool to see. I do like thematically they pulled in Galactic Republic. That's cool. Calling out JMK versus the LV thing. The massive damage is great. Per relic amplifier is cool. But this gives you the ability to say, we've already got our 3-man team. This isn't going to do anything, in my opinion, in 3s right now. We'll see it when it comes out in 5s, and I'm sure it'll do something significant. But again, I call it out as we're just on the waiting phase for the next clone to see what the end game is going to look like for the full money of the LV team and what it's truly supposed to do.
All this does is it feels like it's setting me up for disappointment, because if Tarkin Scorch Disguised doesn't beat JMK, I'm going to be sad with all these anti-Galactic Republic Jedi things. You know what I mean? Like, this is basically, it just feels like, I don't know.
I mean, like an instant defeat immunity, so that's there, and Scorch is good still, and your team just goes in and does massive damage across the board type situation.
Something like, yeah. Basically, I'm just saying, like, I feel like this character can't exceed expectations, if that makes sense. And I feel like it's sort of unfair to this character because I think he is kind of like, I like the design. Like, the design is actually pretty cool. But I feel like. Sorry,
go ahead, Dagger. You finish up. I'll follow on you.
No, I was just going to say, I almost feel bad for this kit because, kind of like Fatal said, it's like, we're not going to know how good it is till we get Scorch.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, like, he's just a guy on the team. Like, not that every team doesn't need a guy, but like he's there for the quota, right? Like, you can almost call him DEI.
I will call out where I think Taz said something that's completely relevant to me. The application of more Order 66 coming out is cool. And if that's coming out and it does show the indication on his basic, because it is calling supports. So if you look at Apo, he does do a tie-in to call supports as a part of the move. And if that's calling Disguise, and that Disguise pulls another Order 66. So if I'm putting multiple applications of that, because that's what you want to attack, right? We want to target the same people, and we want to tag the Order 66 because of how fast it should bring out the deaths. I do like that they're trying to spread it out. So maybe, Scorch has an AoE Order 66 or some, at least they're putting pieces of the puzzle together. And it does give you a good glimpse. But obviously, like every other team, until we see the 5th to get the true indicator of how this is going to play out, it's a nice ad, but not one where I CX2 go 7-star, right? That changed the team. The dynamic changed. The game changed when this team became full 3s. This one's like, we're giving you an out to wait a week. You can go build them up as you want to, gradually set it up, but it's not going to move the needle from anything else because we still don't have the full team of Dark Clone Troopers.
Do we have any? So I totally agree with that, TJ. That's my impression, and I was just kind of curious if I had missed anything on the Tarkin rework. Do we have a sense of what that is? I know the intention was Scorch, this disguised clone trooper, and Tarkin to be a 3-unit squad, and I'm just kind of wondering if it does feel like this needs to be supplemented pretty meaningfully. We don't know Scorch, but do we have an understanding of what Tarkin's bringing or no?
The best of my knowledge, no. I don't think
No.
we had any explicit
Just
update.
knowing that he's the dude in the raid. So he's the dude in the raid, and in 3s, these 3 are intended to be together. Were the only indicators I remember ever seeing about anything. And then obviously, as they're building these kits up, Tarkin here, Tarkin there, and then how it'll work.
Yeah. Okay.
And I would also say that Scorch becomes the raid Omi, and how that'll all play out.
No, I'm pretty sure Tarkin's going to get the raid Omi.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about it. You're right.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm pretty sure we don't get the Tarkin rework until like they actually officially announce the mechanics of the raid.
So we think Scorch second TW Omi, then Tarkin raid Omi. I could see that.
Wouldn't Scorch be
I
GAC Omi for 5s?
I think Scorch
sure.
is either a 3v3 Omi for Tarkin or a 5v5 Omi for Lord Vader.
Could be all Omi and then 3v3 subset.
Or no los dos.
Well, yeah. It could be like the Rex,
right?
Where it's like in 3s this, in 5s this, like Zelbar.
Yeah,
right. Zelbar says in 3s this, in 5s this. Mm-hmm. I expect Scorch to have probably that clause then, in 3s this, and 5s that.
The Tarkin one makes perfect sense. So I agree. Like you said, thinking about that because they do need the just GAC Omi.
Fair. I know a few minutes ago now, and all this is great discussion. I just wanted to circle back around to initial thoughts on modding. Granted, what Fatal said, there's something that feels like we need for his, long-term survival that is probably yet to be shown by Scorch's kit. But that being said, just looking at his own kit in itself, the thing that would have jumped right out to me would be fast offense to seize on the 30% offense that he gains. No particular need for potency. I don't know about this speed reduction. I don't know if that's a potency tenacity check. I'm not really sure about that. But all these other effects can't be, like, they only can be applied if you have ruse. And if you have them go off, then they can't be dispelled or resisted. So no need for potency. So like fast offense or high speed with percent offense secondaries, something like that.
What makes it tough is a couple of the pieces is without the Scorch.
Conceding.
I was saying this is the reason why I'm going there though, is they keep calling special damage everywhere, and obviously they're going to massive damage as a subset for a support character.
Yep.
It's I've said it on a couple of occasions, and I still feel strongly. Turn order for this team has magic. We don't know what Scorch is going to do and where, in my opinion, the full team follows in. Because I know you're calling out just the modding, but I'm also calling, is he like the third one to go? So I really feel like the mechanics of the full team, when we get to see the full picture, will help give us what it's supposed to be. It's the same thing for like LV. I know we have the 3s and everybody, and we want to look at how should we mod them. And it's like I agree with the question, but I also want to know turn order feels like it's going to do something for this team to where it's like when you find that right spot, it's just going to be like detrimental.
Well, the turn order we could tweak regardless of whatever the mod setup would be. But I take your point. Yeah, that is something. I don't know if we've. I think we'll talk about that when we do the Scorch video, just like we did when we wrapped up the new Bad Batch. We'll
on it. Well, so honestly, like the mods, at least for me, like this character doesn't need offense. The fact that he gets 30%, like the 30% he gets from his like unique is a nothing burger for me because like I don't feel like this dude's gonna need to do any damage. He is just there for this, for the rest of his kit. So I mean, like I don't know, probably something Fatal has a lot of like defense mods.
Could be.
Unless you need a specific turn order to put him in a speed set. I just don't like
I
go
would.
back and reread it. I'm not saying you have to do it now, but I'm like go back and reread his like abilities. Like I don't feel like that he needs to hit all that hard.
I'm gonna add one more. We know what we're doing for threes when it comes to CX2. And I know Fatal called it, I think, a good precedent. We don't know what Ruse is going to do. What if the dude just stays in stealth and that changes the fight? Okay, we want him to do this now, right? So TW, we know CX2, LV, and all that. So what if it's in TW? This guy becomes like, you want to mod him this way. Well, in a regular fight or GAC, you can mod him this way. It's not the same. It's not the same match depending on what it's going to do and depending on what we see.
So
Well,
the
for
thing
example,
that'll,
it's like sorry, Fatal.
the thing that I'll put out is, so I think the massive damage is a fairly big deal. Like that, it's kind of like the entire point of the character.
Mhm.
That's not going to scale you much at all. The character is a support, and it's a special
Mhm.
damage support with a fair, like 8,000 special damage is not like 8,000 offense generically. Like if we're talking physical, is not that terrible. But for special damage, it tends to hit a bit low.
Mhm.
His base crit chance is 18%.
Hmm.
So if you want to have the offense conversation, you're already
Offense
leaning
primary.
hard on crit chance as like a major concern if you actually care about doing damage.
Mhm.
And the mastery doesn't scale crit chance at all either. It's accuracy, crit avoidance, and damage. So when I look at what this character is doing, I think this kind of lays out a template for the future.
Mhm.
I think CG is pretty like, I'm not gonna say this is going to prevent JMK and LV, or sorry, JMK and JML, but this really feels like it's kind of shifting things towards like favoring SLK just because he's a dark side Ufu and is like kind of avoids all the negative clauses here. Like we might see a return of SLK versus LV. And to that end, kind of like we see with SLK and LV right now, you have a lot of just like AoE sweeping pressure that, I think this character would benefit you more if you have him still alive and still like providing some bonuses. Whatever, just like I think he does more for you alive than like a little bit more offense that he's dead. If we're talking that sort of matchup. But yeah, it's so much of this is about like seeing where the future goes, seeing like what the SLK strategy is going to look like, and then trying to attack that directly, I think. Or, if there are people who are like trying to figure it out with JMK or JML. Speaking of turn order, I can say pretty confidently I think CX2 fastest, or at least CX2 over Oppo for sure.
Right. I 100% agree. I've been saying that since day one, that the CX2 out in front of everybody. But what then it's like without seeing what the because then I bring up where's your stealth at, right? Because I agree with you on the keeping me alive. He's got the good mechanics where the pieces is at. So are you saying you're keeping the CX2 Apo and then for now I guess you're disguised as the last dude?
It depends on your priority. Like you would put disguised clone trooper slower if you want to try to get a media ruse, and you would do faster if you care more about the stealth for protection.
Is Apo's first thing to call support? Is that his automatic AI first move? Is to call for support?
I do not recall.
Okay.
I want to say it is. I want to say that I only see the AoE second, but Extreme Great Assault, that's like 30% confidence saying that. So.
That's what I thought it was too. I thought it was called to support to assist, because then if you go
it is
CX2,
and that is the first ability he will use.
So I'm saying, so you go with CX2, he does what he's doing to start sorting him down. Apo to go in directly to call support, and if that was to call in, you're now putting out, and if they call your disguised clone trooper, you're now going directly in to Order 66 being applied. So those pieces of
the goofy thing that I see happening here is there's a real world where the moment that LV starts going on offense, I think CX2 is going to get benched. So
Yeah,
because
well,
it takes
for
away
3
your
versus 3 for sure. Yeah, I mean, and I see why you might say that for 5s. Go ahead, sorry.
no, it just takes out the RNG on your assists, right? It's if
Right,
you
for
have the
your
choice
support.
between if I call CX, I do whatever, and if I call this other guy, I do potentially like a million.
I want to
Massive
say
damage.
also, because then that goes to the question of what you're saying, Fatal. Will the AI take priority, or is it truly the RNG game? Because then you're right. Right? It's like,
No,
I don't want you to call
it's not
CX2.
targeted. It's not targeted. It's literally a coin flip.
I don't like that. It would be great if it was like, call this support. But I see what you're saying.
Yeah, that's why I'm talking the shit that I'm talking about. Like, worry about his stealth generation. He only gives himself stealth at match start against
The Galactic Republic.
Galactic Republic.
Right.
Yeah.
And then he only gives it to himself if he didn't have ruse. Which the thing that I'm not clear on, that I would say, I already tested, or I already looked. There's no Galactic Challenge available for me to like test and confirm this right now.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
My biggest question is, it says if he doesn't have ruse at the end of a turn, he goes into stealth. But what I'm wondering is like, okay, so if he takes a turn and has ruse, and then he spends it, does that mean he gets to stealth or not? Because there's two like very different pacings happening there. If it's like, no, you got to take a whole entire turn to be able to stealth yourself, or it's just like a constant, like
I'm going to give you better wood because I think it could be the truth too, Fatal. It could be with Scorch. Does it go at game start all support stealth?
It could easily be that, yeah.
Because then it's like to what Dagger said, which is true. It's like he's good. He could be a reactive taunt, or he could be this other thing. But because of that, we're going to hide our team. And then now that's going to feed in because you're naturally giving that ability setup. Because you're right. There's nothing to call out if it's not this condition specifically. That's not going to do it. So
Scorch may not be a tank.
It's also true because you expect it to be LV.
You would expect
LV's
it
the
to be
front man.
somehow very offensive, like conditionally a very offensive tank. Not like unlike a pause something. I can see that.
Could also be when
Well,
LV's in place, LV taunts.
For what it's worth, I expect it to be a tank, but it could be like a JTR Zeb style tank. I don't think he necessarily has to taunt, but I think that he will likely be a tank tag. But that's just my initial reading of the team. But I could be easily wrong. I don't think it'll be a support because a 3-way like coin flip seems worse than the. Anyways, I don't think the team needs an attacker. Though the team doesn't really need a healer. Like I really do think it's a tank, but it could easily just be a Zeb style tank where you can, like Shock T, right? You can put a taunt on a tank, or you can put a taunt on Lord Vader, or put a mark on Lord Vader. That kind of thing, kind of like Piet.
Okay. Yeah.
Right, where he's more of a protector. Where he's more of a protector than a tank. Because I know in other games tanks are called like protectors or what have you, right? Like I could see him having a lot of those kind of things where at the beginning of his turn all supports gain stealth kind of shit, where you just want to like put him in speed, and if he dies, he dies. I don't know. I think there's a lot of design space they can go with tanks because we already have like CC tanks or like hybrid tanks that don't taunt.
Sure. All right. Well, any other comments here on Disguise Clone Trooper? Looks like we have a sense of at least what he's not, which doesn't seem to be self-sustaining. So as far as mods go, survivability may be the premium way to get the most out of him. But yeah, all final judgment pending Scorch. I hear you. Any other notes?
Just a Relic 9. That amplifiers for massive damage. This is if you obviously if you're looking at who needs to get the Relic 9s, that Relic amplifier per massive damage, I know Beta called it out too, is very appealing. So I know you want to do a lot of 9s. This feels like another high candidate for what might come out.
Let's be real, it's going to be the whole team.
It is, but it's still the point, right? Some people just can't do that.
No, I was going to say just not to. I'm gonna push back on TJ's point, but not as like conclusion. But it's like you want him to be R9 because Lord Vader lead wants him to be R9. The difference between 9 instances of massive damage and 10 instances of massive damage is like, I want to say relatively negligible.
You shush. Every little bit matters.
To me, it does, and it's like, and
I'll
anytime
bet you
I
both
like
hear that.
it's all
I'll
right.
bet you
CG
both
has done a
get told
great
that a
job.
lot.
Mhm.
I'll bet you both
CG
get
has
told
done
that
a great
lot.
job when it comes to these relic amplifier kits and those buildups. I really liked what they've done with that, where it's like there has been some noticeable differences when they've done it.
For sure.
No, I'm just saying this is one of those where you're doing it for Lord Vader and you're getting a bonus out of it.
Sure.
Because Lord Vader definitely has been like supercharged as far as his damage goes. Like it's kind of absurd.
A good time. I'm happy about it. All right, guys. Thank you very much. Sorry, what's
I'm
that?
not, but sorry. What's the
Get
famous?
it real quick. So I think if you're a hyper frugal gamer and you just like don't have that many R9s to throw around, I do think this is a character you could park R8. Like the Nightfall event is like I was able to get a 3-star. I'm not saying it's the best experience. I know this character will probably make it a lot simpler, although maybe not. I don't know. It's weird. To 3-star Nightfall event, you need everyone to be alive, and like CX is kind of a bitch to keep alive if you don't stack mastery.
That you have to sell everything to get your 3-star. When you say I 3-star the Nightfall event, you know you live in a world among yourself. You are a god among men because I've done it and it
shit you
costs
not.
everything.
I shit you not. I did it on accident. Like I didn't know about the mastery trick or anything. It just like worked out.
Yeah. I got
Hey, look
the
at it
3
this
stars
way.
up to 5.
If I can auto it to 1-star, I'm happy. When I get the full team, I'll worry about 3-starring it.
But so what I will say is the difference between 9 massive damage and 10 massive damage only really matters if we're talking about savior mechanics where like their health bar refills. And technically it's a little bit extra for like GLs because GLs reduce massive. The case that I would make for R9 is that I think if we're looking ahead to 5v5, I think Disguised Clone Trooper is clearly going to be the dude who gets focused. This is like when Ahsoka first got revealed and I was talking about like, no, you should really bulk up Sabine. Like, the woman does plenty of damage on her own. What she needs to do is not die, especially with that Omicron. And it this feels like a fairly similar situation here, where like if people are trying stuff like JML or JMK, they're gunning for this dude. This is the guy to take out. And I'm pretty sure the clones is the defeat immune, right? So they can't just like cat nuke him either.
Right.
Yep.
So
right.
you are going to be playing keep away with his life if you want to keep putting pressure out on Jedi and Lightside Ufu. That, yeah, I think pragmatically that is why I would be like, yeah, R9 it seems like a safe bet. He's a support. R9 supports are not tanks, but they do get more than attackers. So
Especially with evasion mastery, everyone's favorite.
he is not evasion, CXs, so you can still curse his name.
No, wait, he's CA then?
He is crit avoidance, damage, and accuracy.
Oh, well, that's significantly worse, but yeah,
It is.
it's okay. I thought he was evasion CA, and I'm like, yeah, fuck you. But no.
The
He's not
CX
even,
can still torture you that way.
yeah.
Had to decline a phone call there. But yeah. All right. Appreciate those thoughts, Fatal. We got that in. And yeah, we'll be keeping an eye out for what Scorch is going to do for the final part of the kit. Hi, little one. You're breaking in here at the end of the show. All right, guys. Thanks again for your thoughts. We'll wrap this one up. And until next time, it's been real. It's been awesome. It's been real awesome. Take care.